Hello. Okay, so first of all, I have to say something because you're always talking about the frequencies. And I used to work at 6:30 a.m. and I work at 98.5 FM. So I know what you're talking about in that regard. This last week, one of my coworkers and I went to lunch, and she asked me, "How do you stay motivated?" And I hadn't thought about that really, because I just do. But in talking to her, it occurred to me that some of the things that I've been doing lately have nothing to do with work. And they have to do with these side things that I've been thinking about for a long time, but now I've started to actually do. And my question is about those things, because some people might construe them to have some negativity attached to them, although I'm finding joy in them. So I wanted to get a little clarification about that. They're both writing projects, ultimately. One of them is a blog. I've been single and dating for a long time. And I tell my friends stories that are funny stories. I mean, they're not like, oh, God, this, It's more like, they're funny. And my friends have been telling me for a long time, you need to write those down.
Are they funny stories that have happy endings?
Well, in the effect that I learned that that's not what I want. Yeah. I'm not stuck with those people. I'm really grateful when somebody tells me their whole life story and it's not what I want on the first date, because then I say, oh, good, I know that now. I'm not going to spend any more time here. But so for years, people have been telling me I need to write this down. So finally, one day, it was a very, very windy weekend that I was away with a friend. And so we ended up on computers, which we hadn't intended to do. We were supposed to be outside in hot springs and enjoying ourselves. And we were inside enjoying ourselves on computers instead. And I started the blog. I got it set up. And last weekend, I spent a lot of time on it. And I'm finding a lot of joy in getting this stuff written down and putting it out there. And I'm trying to, end it kind of happily, at least fun, and getting people to smile and laugh. But, there's this little part of me back here that goes, well, there's some people that could get offended by this. And then I think, but the people who won't get offended by it will be attracted to it, and they'll have fun with it. And maybe they'll make some additional comments. It's not meant to be mean-spirited in any way.
Well, you're talking about a lot of things, so let's begin the unraveling process here.
And that's just one of the things I'm working on.
The most significant thing that you said that we want to sort of prepare a basis for is the difference between motivation and inspiration. And motivation is an outside the vortex stance where I'm aware that if I don't do such and such, that there will be negative repercussions. So I'm going to make myself do it. I'm going to motivate myself. I'm going to remind myself that if I don't do this, then something bad or worse will happen. And so I motivate myself to go to work because I don't want to make anyone upset there, and I don't want to lose my job, and I don't want money to stop coming, that sort of thing. So the difference between motivation is action that I am compelled to from outside the vortex, while inspiration, from our point of view, is being close enough to this vortex that's already assembled. I put everything there bit by bit by bit. It is amassed, and it has become this reality that the larger part of me literally is. And if I get close enough to the vibrational frequency of it, and I have little resistance within me, then I'm going to be called in by the powerful law of attraction. It's not going to require me doing something. I'm not going to have to make myself do it. It's like the stars align. It's like the difference between being in a hurry and trying to get somewhere and having every light be red and people get in your way, and then suddenly you realize you're behind somebody who's got their flashers on because their car isn't operating, and then when you try to pull around, somebody else is in the way. In other words, it's like things going wrong as you try to push your way through it. That's sort of what motivation is, where inspiration is being so close to the frequency of everything that I've put into my vortex that law of attraction is calling me, and I'm following because I care about the way I feel, to this nice flowing, nicely unfolding, very blissful experience. So the most important thing to say about the blog or anything else that you're doing is that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about anything. The only thing that matters is how it feels to you. Because there is this vibrational relationship between you and you that isn't static and isn't standing still. Things that your inner being is calling you to today won't be the same things that your inner being is calling you to tomorrow, because this inner being is continually evolving. Now, most people, as they're born into the physical world, have people around them, a mother particularly, or parents who teach their children that you really want to please me. In other words, if I smile, do more of that, and if I'm frowning, stop doing it. There are so many people, teachers, peers, even lovers, who try to control other people by offering them rewards or punishment in the way that they respond to them. And what's interesting about that, whether you're the one who is dictating the way you want people to behave, or whether you're the one who's jumping through hoops in order to keep them happy, in either case, you're perpetuating something that doesn't lead to long-term happiness, because you're training yourself and others away from this guidance system, which is the only thing that can ever bring happiness. In other words, we would never say to you that you shouldn't be writing a blog, or that the conversation that you're having in it is inappropriate, if you are feeling more satisfaction in doing it than in not doing it. Because we also understand that even in the process of regurgitating relationships that didn't go well, as you say, you're putting more into your vortex of what you want to go better. So this virtual reality relationship is expanding and growing. And as long as you're feeling inspiration as you move toward it, then you're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
Now, that's hard for the public at large to hear. They don't want to hear anybody say, you should follow your bliss, because they're afraid that your bliss might cause something bad to happen to someone else. But we say, you've got to start somewhere. And ultimately, this is the ultimate absolute truth of all of this. If every person that you knew were in the vortex and following inspiration, there would never be anyone who ever harmed anyone. There would never be anyone who ever insulted anyone. In other words, you would have a paradigm shift. You would move to another plateau of life. There would still be contrast, and you would still have expansion, but there wouldn't be the brutality or the inhumanity that so many people who are doing so much of their behaving or acting out from outside the vortex. In other words, it would be a very much more congenial environment in which you are all living. So it is never bad news to follow your individual bliss. Never, ever, 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 ever. It's always the right thing to do. And we have to say it's the only right thing to do.